that decision on how long you keep him there until he comes back?
Well, I think we talk we talk with players about how they're feeling, what they need, their confidence level, physically and mentally. Leading up to a rehab, there's a lot of work that goes in prior to going out into play. So in most cases, physically they're in a good spot. The big question is it mentally? Do you feel good about coming back at a particular time, whether it's one game or 10 games? And over the years, I've had players who are ready with no games, and I've had players who feel mentally that they need, a number of games or a number of at-bats. So with Daniel, we're working through that as we speak.
Timetable still?
No.
There was no aggravation last
So
night.
how was that?
He came out.
I'm sorry, Trey. I'm listening. I'm watching these two guys laugh because they wanted to know when he's coming, and I'm not going to tell you.
Got to make sure.
And I'm not even going to tell you who's pitching tomorrow.
Didn't say anything.
I was going to ask you that.
I know, so you don't ask.
Great. Look at Thomas.
And I'm not going to tell you about Kyle either because we don't know. Because I know you guys want definitive stuff, and I can't give it to you all the time. But I try to give you as best stuff as I can all the time. Okay, Tracy, sorry for
So the
interrupting.
fact that he came out after 7 innings last night, he'd had 5 at bats. Was that just enough, or
Yeah, well,
There's no
if you
problem.
think back, Trey, in most cases, a guy's out for 3 or 4 weeks. They play 5 innings and get a couple
Right.
at bats. So this is a good thing.
right?
7 innings and 5 at bats. That's great.
I just want to make sure it wasn't something physical.
No. It's very, very rarely does a guy go into rehab and go and plays 9, unless you're Jeff Uson, who's an animal.
He lived on rehab.
He lived on being a beast.
Do you know what the most difficult part is with that injury? Is it feeling?
I'm sorry?
The most difficult part with an injury like that? Is it feeling? It's what, what's it,
Yeah. I think that
batting?
it's his it's the top hand, and it's fine.
Right.
Yeah, so that's fine. Hitting in Daniel's words, has not bothered him. Has not caused him any discomfort. It's more about the fielding and the impact of the ball into the glove.
Does the rehab change at all with him being a veteran player? Does that play into your
At
decision
times,
making?
yeah, with him specifically or veteran player.
Just in general with the veteran player, do you handle
Every situation's unique, but with most veteran players, they know themselves really well. So, I think a lot of times the conversations with front office, with coaching staff and player, there's a level of trust with a veteran player because they normally know themselves very well, and when they're ready or not ready, what they need to be ready, all those questions.
Upon his arrival, the offense has been definitely playing better as of late. How do you feel like he can maybe stabilize?
Well,
the
I think
offense?
that again, I think his at bat, right? The nature of his at bat, where there's a really solid at bat of controlling the strike zone. Swinging at strikes, taking balls. There's a history of not striking out a lot, putting the ball in play. I think that has a tendency to carry over to the rest of the group. I think that's one thing that Daniel brings, and I think just getting to know him like I have over the last 3 months is the baseball conversation is great in the dugout, in the clubhouse. His presence as an active player, I think will be seen. It'll be subtle. It might not be something that you can really you won't be able to notice, but we will. It's tangible. And hopefully the quality of that bat rubs off on the other guys when they see him take his at bats.
Did Charlie talk himself into the lineup time?
We had a discussion over the last couple of days. You might find this hard to believe, but
I know.
You talked to
okay.
I
In the last couple of days, we've talked about whether today would be a day to give Charlie a day off from starting, and we talked as Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Charlie progressively has felt better at the plate, and we did talk this morning, actually, yeah. So I don't know how you want to phrase it, but put it this way: he wanted to play. he felt good about playing again.
Well, and the fact you see him starting to get some more consistent at bats makes you want to stay with him a little more.
Consistent
at bats,
productive at bats.
yeah,
or-
yeah.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah, but but you got to it's tough for them to play 162.
He's off Thursday.
They sound like Redmond. Yeah, they'll be off Thursday, or they were off last Monday.
That's Hauser. That's Hauser.
They were off in
If anyone
February.
Yeah.
with the injury to Russin, he hasn't been there all year. Also, McGee, how's that helped some of the younger guys get more exposure in, tighter situations? And how have they done with that?
That happens
exposure?
now because somebody's got to pitch.
Right.
Right.
And how have they done with it, I should say.
The younger guys.
Or the lesser experienced.
I think with it's still these guys are still working on 10 innings, right? Roughly. There's I'm not. I'd have to look at everybody's stat line, but it's been a little variable, right? I think if you're talking about DJ and Carlos Musgrave, I could still consider him a lesser service time player, but Wade, Oberg, O, Dunn, Shaw, those are veteran relievers. But the other three fellas, it's been a little bit variable. I like the fact that the aggressiveness that Estevez is throwing. I think there's a noticeable difference from this year than the previous 2 years in how he's throwing. He looks comfortable. Again, he's pitching with a great deal of velocity, but there's been some misses, right? There's 3 home runs in there, and a hit by pitch. No walks. I think 12 strikeouts, which is good. Musgrave has wiggled out of some jams. But the walk is a little high, and with DJ, the walk is too high, right? It's almost a walk an inning. Can't have that. We've talked about that as a group, the pitching staff in general. I think our walks are too high for here we are, 20 plus games into the season. So that's got to get much better.
Buddy, sticking with the bullpen for a moment, Brian Shaw so far has been very effective. What do you see the difference, how he's throwing now as opposed to the struggles he had last year?
Well, I think that I wouldn't say that he's totally reinventing himself, but I think he understands that as you move on in your career, you have to make some adjustments. And I think last year it was a lot of heavy fastball and his fastball cuts, so a lot of heavy fastball usage, and coming off I think a period of time in Cleveland where that was successful, and last year it just wasn't quite as sharp. And I think this year, he's, for lack of a better term, he's probably pitched more. He's changed speeds a little bit better. The shape of his breaking pitches are a little bit different, and I think he's placed an emphasis on keeping the ball down. Again, the walks are a little high, right? He's got more walks than strikeouts, which is not advantageous. But there's been a few games where he's been stressed, but he's gotten out of it, by making some pitches. So, it's a good sign that he's making pitches, and he's doing it in a little different way with I don't want to say he's creative, but probably more than anything, I think just changing of the speeds and a little bit of the shape of his breaking pitches.
I was going to say, to me, the big difference is last year he'd get traffic and he'd give up the big hit. This year when he has traffic, he's found a way to escape.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And now, 60, 70 innings, let's hope that continues, right? And we'll answer that, 70 innings from now.
I was talking to Dahl the other day about an adjustment I noticed. Started choking up on the bat September of last year.
Okay.
In general, why don't more guys do that? And what do you think about when
I think it's comfort. I think, I think it adds to handling and controlling the bat head a little bit. For a lot of players, it's feel. I think a lot of guys don't do it because it doesn't feel comfortable. It doesn't feel right. So with David, it feels right. With Barry Bonds, it felt right. With Felix Mion, it felt right. With Ron Hunt, it felt right.
Votto?
With Votto, it feels right. With Hunter Pence, with 2 strikes, it feels right. So, listen, I'm in a way, I'm an advocate of that as an at-bat moves on, but to others, they're not. So it's a lot of times it's personal comfort and preference.
Have you seen very many people, other than Bonds to a degree, that have power when they choke up like that? I mean, it seems like a lot of them have good bat control, can hit around like Felix Mion, those guys. But,
And Ron Hunt, Glenn Becker.
Ron Hunt was
Should we
almost
keep
the
going?
middle of the bat. Yeah, Glenn Becker hit and run. But the power
Ty
type,
Cobb,
is that different?
split grip. What's so funny, Cal?
We're going back. Reaching in way back.
Oh, you're cracking me up.
Go ahead.
You see a lot of guys with that
I don't,
have
you know,
that
I,
type
I,
of
I don't know
power.
whether I don't think you lose power. Just that a lot of times the leverage of holding the. It's the same thing with guys who have fingers off the knob of the bat, right? It's just sort of the leverage and the lever system at play there. But still, if you have bat speed and you square a ball up, whether you're choked up or not, it still can be powerful.